Sometimes the Bible tells us things that don't seem to make sense. For example, the book of Leviticus tells us not to eat pigs. It tells us we can eat cows and goats and sheep, but not pigs. Why is this prohibition in the Torah? Some say that this prohibition may have made sense thousands of years ago, but it certainly doesn't make any sense today. I'm Wes White from CGI.org, and welcome to Connecting History and the Bible. Let's go to Western Tennessee. I'm standing in Tennessee at the Mississippi River. Everything across the river is eastern Arkansas. Back in 1539, a Spanish explorer named De Soto traveled up this river, and when he and his 600 soldiers looked into eastern Arkansas, they saw a land populated with about 50 settlements and over 200,000 people. That's a lot of people. For several years, De Soto and his men wandered all over Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, and the Southwest. They were stealing gold and burning and pillaging and raping. But these aggressive acts didn't decrease the native population. When De Soto left, there were the same amount of people here in eastern Arkansas as when he arrived. But then something strange happened about 200 years later. It was when a French explorer by the name of La Salle came through this region. La Salle found the place to be practically deserted. The French didn't see an Indian village for 200 miles. What happened to the 200,000 people who lived here during the time of De Soto? Why were they no longer here by the time La Salle arrived 200 years later? The answer is that De Soto had inadvertently killed them. You see, along with his 500 men, De Soto had 200 horses and his meat supply, pigs. When De Soto traveled, he didn't keep his pigs in cages or on leashes. That would be totally impractical. Like pet dogs, his swine were allowed to roam freely along with the soldiers and the horses as they traveled. These pigs were De Soto's ambulatory meat locker, and the pigs usually stayed close to De Soto's army, close to the camp. But some wandered away, turning wild, and started populating and traveling all over the Mississippi Valley. It doesn't take pigs long to multiply and spread in the wild. And no one knew it at the time, but these pigs carried European diseases such as anthrax, trichinosis, tuberculosis, brucellosis. And these native populations didn't have any immunity to these European diseases, so they were all susceptible to these diseases. And the natives didn't always get these diseases directly from the pigs. Sometimes the pigs gave the diseases to deer and turkey, and then the natives got the diseases from those animals. The point is that the majority of these indigenous populations in eastern Arkansas contracted these diseases and died. From the time of De Soto to the time of La Salle, the Caddo Indian population in this area fell from 200,000 to about 8,500. It was a horrible chain of events. That was then, but what about now? What's the status of De Soto's wild pigs that were the cause of so much death and destruction? Well, today, wild pigs are an epidemic over most of this country, and not just in Arkansas. 3/4 of all states in America have a huge wild hog problem. Every year, wild hogs inflict $1.5 billion in damage to agriculture and livestock, and that number is growing. And sadly, we don't know how to eliminate this wild hog problem. We don't even know how to slow down the population growth of these pigs. These animals were a curse in the 1500s, and they are a curse today. And we can't escape from the fact that if the Europeans weren't eating this animal that God tells us not to eat, the Caddo Indians wouldn't have suffered the epidemics that they experienced back then, and our country wouldn't be suffering from this agricultural damage that we have today from feral hogs. The more we examine the Bible, the more we realize that God's laws are for our own good. Sometimes it takes us time to understand why God commands certain things, but sooner or later we recognize the goodness of His commands. If you'd like more information on God's laws regarding which animals are and which animals aren't fit for human consumption, contact us at cgi.org, and we'll see you next time on Connecting History and the Bible.